Hi, I'm Mel, and my cat Ron is not happy, so we're going to try and hopefully calm him down. I'm not sure what his problem is. He's got food, he's got water, and the other cat's ignoring him. I'm trying to get him to be less unhappy. Okay, I'm going to be talking about uluru. Okay, uluru is one of the more famous Australian landmarks, for lack of a better word, and it's located in the Northern Territory of Australia. Okay, now it was historically, it was called by the white settlers is rock, and it is a massive sandstone monolith located in the heart of Australia's Red Centre within the Northern Territory. As I said, it stands as one of the country's most recognisable natural landmarks, rising about 348 metres above the surrounding desert plains and stretching 9.4 kilometres in circumference. It is jointly managed by Parks Australia and its traditional owners, the Anugu people. It is protected as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, both for its unique geology and its deep cultural landscape. So, its height, as I said, is about 348 metres above ground, which is higher than the Eiffel Tower. Subterranean mass apparently extends roughly 2.5 to 6 kilometres vertically underground. It is estimated about 550 million years old. Composition is Arcose sandstone, rich in mineral feldspar. Coloration, naturally grey, but oxidised iron surface minerals create its signature red hue. So the cultural significance and regulations for the local Anugu people who have continuously inhabited the region for over 60,000 years, probably 65,000 years or more. Uluru is a living cultural entity. It is inseparable from Tujekpa, which I hope I'm saying that correctly, and I'm so sorry for not, traditional ancestral law. The fissures, caves, and physical features of the rock record the creation journeys of their ancestors. Out of profound respect for this sacred ground and also visitor safety, climbing Uluru was banned permanently on 26th of October 2019. While photography is generally okay, certain physically and spiritually sensitive sites around the base are restricted from being publicised or shared online to honour sacred laws, cultural laws, and you should respect that seriously. It's situated 450 kilometres southwest of Alice Springs via the Stewart and Lassiter highways. Visitors can fly directly into Ayers Rock Airport, or better known as Ulara, which I'll refer to it as Ulara, or drive from Alice Springs. The 10-kilometre base walk, or shorter segments like the Marla Walk, do allow some close-up access to ancient rock art caves and rare desert flora. Sunrise and sunset viewings are highly popular due to dramatic shifting light changes on the stone face. Located 32 kilometres west within the same national park is Kata Duka, which the white colonials called the Olgas. And I will talk about that in a separate video, but I'm just mentioning it here as well. Which is a collection of 36 steep-sided conglomerate domes. So, as I said, Uluru sits in, Australia's national territory, and it sits within the Amadeus Basin, a vast structural depression in the country's hyper-arid red centre. Most of Australia is pretty arid and pretty much desert-like, just if you didn't know that. Geological composition and genesis. Though frequently labelled a monolith, Uluru is technically an inselberg, an isolated island mountain. It is the exposed tip of an incredibly massive continuous subterranean rock layer. And I've talked about that. Apparently the surface portion alone is estimated to weigh 1.45 billion tonnes. Well, there you go. And I've talked about what it's made of. So it started to form 550 million years ago. Tectonic shifts raised the ancient Peterman Ranges. Torrential rains washed sand and gravel down, depositing massive alluvial sediment fans onto an inland seabed. 500 million years ago, the region was completely submerged under a shallow sea. The weight of the new ocean floor sediment compressed the sand fan below into a dense block of Arco sandstone 400 million years ago. Major tectonic plate movements folded, buckled, and tilted the horizontal sandstone layer by nearly 90 degrees, anchoring it vertically. Last 300 million years, the sea receded, wind, rain, and extreme temperature variations eroded away the softer surrounding rock layers while leaving the stubborn vertical rock protruding. So its cultural heritage and to I hope I'm saying that right, I'm trying my best, to the Enugu people, which is comprising the Pitjantjatjara and the Yakutatjara language speakers. Uluru is not a dead geological monument, but a deeply sacred living landscape. There's the law, which is the Tjurkpa. It's the foundation of Enugu life, containing creation stories, moral codes, legal structures, ecological protocols. Every crack, cave, stain, and texture on Uluru represents exact physical evidence of ancestral creation journeys, what's called sometimes the dreaming. Different zones around the base belong to specific ancestral arcs. These are sacred sites I'm talking about. The southern side holds the battlefield of the uluru, which is a poisonous snake, and the kunya wama python ancestors. Fissures here trace where weapons struck the rock face. Other areas are reserved exclusively for gendered sacred ceremonies. The Great Handback. European explorers renamed it Ayers Rock in 1873. Following decades of tireless Indigenous civil activism, the title deeds to the land were officially handed back to the Enugu on 26th of October 1985, who then leased it back to the Australian government to run it jointly. So it's environmental and climate profiling. The region experiences fierce semi-arid desert climate characterized by brutal seasonal temperature swings. So say the season of summer, which is say from like December to February, the daytime average can be 35°C to 40 plus degrees Celsius. The nighttime average is 20 degrees Celsius to 23 degrees Celsius. So you get scorching heat waves, severe afternoon flies, flash desert storms, and cascading rock face waterfalls. Then autumn, which is March to May. The daytime average might be 26 degrees centigrade to 28 degrees centigrade. Nighttime average is 12 degrees centigrade to 15 degrees centigrade. Mild, calm, transitional period with minimal wind and clear blue skies. Winter, which is June to August, daytime average is 18 degrees to 22 degrees. Nighttime average is 0 degrees to 4 degrees. Sub-zero nocturnal desert drops, heavy morning frosts, and optimal midday trekking weather, I guess, if you don't want to freeze to death at night in the desert. Spring, which is September to November, you get during the day, the average is 26 degrees centigrade to 31 degrees centigrade. And nighttime average is 13 degrees centigrade to 16 degrees centigrade. Rapidly warming days, desert wildflowers blooming, and minimal tourism, I guess. Despite receiving a meager 300 millimeters of annual rainfall, the park supports a surprisingly dense biome. The flora, dominated by hard spinifex grass, and I've been to Uluru, and boy, can I tell you that. You do not want to sit on a spinifex when you're trying to use the toilet in the desert at night, because there aren't a lot of toilets there. You have to go and find a place out in the desert, usually in Go, and I tell you, you do not want to sit on them, because I did, and so desert oaks and bright red sturt desert peas. The fauna, it is home to over 21 species of native mammals, 76 distinct reptile species, including the thorny devil lizard, and 170 bird varieties like the wedge-tailed eagle. Waterholes, deep shaded plunge pools like the Muti Jula water hole retain water year-round, serving as vital ecological lifelines to desert wildlife. So, look, tourism, logistics, and you cannot climb Uluru anymore because so many people have died and got injured and everything up there. So, you know, but it is a really good place to see, and please be respectful of all the cultural. Don't take photos when don't go to places you're not meant to do. You can take photos in some places, and you should have signs, no photographs or whatever. Please just respect that. I mean, seriously. So, entry passes and rules. To enter the park, you must purchase an official pass via Parks Australia ticketing portal. So, adult, which is 18 plus, it's $38 Australian dollars, valid for 3 consecutive days. Any child under 18, which is how they view children, is free entry. The climbing ban. Climbing Uluru was permanently closed on the 26th of October 2019 due to multiple safety issues, environmental degradation, and the profound sacredness of the peak to traditional owners. Violations incur heavy federal prosecution. Yeah, so it should. And seriously, they don't need to be cleaning up any more dead bodies or injured people. Photography bans. Certain sections of the base walk, features signs stating photography is strictly prohibited, and please stick to that. These are highly sensitive sacred sites. Taking or sharing images of them breaks local Indigenous law. Key tracks and trails. The Uluru Base Walk is a 10.4 kilometre flat loop wrapping entirely around the rock. It takes 3 to 3.5 hours roughly for the average person to finish. The Marla Walk, a shorter 2 kilometre round trip leading directly into Cantu Gorge, passing ancestral rock art caves where rangers host free educational talks. Valley of the Winds, located 32 kilometres away at Katajuko, which used, as I said, the Europeans called the Olgas. This is a more challenging 7.4 kilometre rocky loop navigation through the interior of the steep red domes. The creation stories and the rock art and ancient rules of Uluru are interconnected through Chigburpa, sorry, and I'm saying this wrong, the foundation of Anugu life and law. The physical features of the monolith are seen as literal frozen evidence of ancestral beings' journeys and battles across the desert. So the ancestor is Kunya, gentle woman python ancestor, and Luru, the aggressive poisonous brown snake warrior. So the story apparently, and I hope I'm not misstating this, really you should listen to the traditional owners and not me. This is just trying to whet your appetite. And if I'm wrong, please put that down, below this video in the comments. You should listen to them. You probably shouldn't listen to me. Seriously. Acuna travelled to Uluru to save her nephew who had been injured by Lairu warriors. Encountering a hostile Lairu warrior near Muti Julu waterhole, she performed a sacred dance and struck him twice with her digging stick. So the physical evidence that they show of this is two deep parallel vertical cracks on the eastern face of Uluru, mark where Kunya slashed the rock face. A nearby dark curved stain is said to be the residual spirit energy of the defeated Lairu water. The Mala, which is the Rufus Hare Wallaby people, the ancestors, the Mala people who travelled from the far north to hold an important initiation ceremony at Uluru. A rival group invited the Mala to their own ceremony. The Mala declined, explaining the ritual was already underway. Offended, the rivals conjured Kerpenny, a terrifying shape-shifting evil dog spirit, to destroy the Mala camp. So the physical evidence that they say shows this is deep scoop-like caves along the northwestern side of Uluru represent the panic-stricken escape routes of the Mala ancestors escaping into the safety of the zone. There's all sorts of ancient cave paintings and rock art. The rock shelters around the base of Uluru function as thousands and thousand years old educational blackboards. The medium artists used natural desert minerals crushed with paste, including red and yellow ochre, white clay, and black charcoal mixed with water or animal fat. Unlike modern art galleries, Anugu artists repeatedly painted over old designs. A single cave wall often contains dozens of layers of symbols dating back across many, many, many generations. The art uses a universal desert shorthand. Concentric circles represent like a waterhole, campsite, or significant meeting place. U shapes represents a human being sitting cross-legged on the earth. Concentric circles with line represents a journey path taken between campsites. Animal tracks employs stylized arrows for emus and multi-prong lines for kangaroos. So these caves were classrooms, and elders used the painted symbols to teach younger generations survival tracking skills, moral codes, and navigational routes. Um, so look, please just respect. They have men's sites and women's sites. Please just respect them. Don't go there. You can find out. Why did they climb it? Ban you from climbing. As I said, a lot of it was because people kept falling off and dying or getting injured, and it's also very disrespectful to their culture, spirituality. The old tourist train went directly over a sacred traditional route walked by the ancestral Mala men. For the Enugu, walking on it for recreation is a profound desecration of the ancestral home. The climb was incredibly steep, and over 37 people died on the rock face due to slips, extreme heat exhaustion, and sudden heart attacks, causing Immense grief to the Enugu who felt responsible for any guest on their land. Environmental damage. The massive daily influx of climbers over the decades eroded the sandstone track. Because there are no facilities on top of the track, human waste and trash washed down during rainstorms, severely poisoning the ecosystem of the Mutijala waterhole below. Um, so Ulara is a purpose-built desert resort township located in the in the southern region of Australia's Northern Territory. It sits roughly 18 kilometres north of Uluru and 55 kilometres from Kasajita. Because sleeping or camping inside the UNESCO National Park is strictly illegal to protect the sacred ground and the environment for that matter, Ulara services as the service gateway and accommodation hub for all tourists visiting the region. The town features a diverse range of accommodations, ranging from luxury to budget cabins, backpacker lodges, and large campgrounds. The town amenities, it functions as a self-sustaining oasis featuring a well-stocked IGA supermarket, post office, cafes, restaurants, news agents, petrol station, and a medical clinic. Transition hub. The town is positioned next to Ayers Rock Airport, which accepts direct commercial flights from major Australian capital cities. So ecological maintenance, management, and two-way science. The park is managed using a system called two-way science, combining this plus 60,000 years of traditional Indigenous ecological knowledge with modern scientific conservation practices. So, cultural burning. Enugu old elders lead controlled small-scale burning during cooler months to clear dead brush, prevent catastrophic summer wildfires, and encourage new plant growth. And a lot of studies have shown that to be an extremely good idea to do. Wildlife protection. Traditional tracking methods are used alongside modern motion sensor cameras to monitor threatened desert species such as the marla, the rufous hair wallaby, and the Chijurka, great desert skink. More importantly, the park remains a living, functional home for the Enugu. Specific sections of the park are occasionally closed to the public so that private community ceremonials, funerals, which sometimes called as sorry business, and traditional law education can be passed down to younger generations without outside interruption, which I think is fair enough. Look, it is obviously very hot and very dry. So if you are going to be anywhere in Australia's, middle of Australia, or anywhere really, having a lot of water with you is really good. If you're going to be driving, make sure your car is functional. Satellite navigation, because your GPS probably ain't going to work out there. Be like, tell someone which way you're going, where you're going, when you should be checking in, where are you going to stay. Plan this out, because, like, seriously, it's a very hot and dry. You really, a lot of don't want to get lost or injured, it's because it's just, the primary cause of death is acute heart failure. Well, it was with exertion of the climb. And extreme desert heat, which frequently exceeds 40 degrees Celsius. You know, you know, so people have gotten lost. The 7.4 kilometre trail at Katajuka features steep, rocky, and confusing terrain. Tourists who wander off the marked path quickly become disorientated by repetitive domed landscape. Heat disorientation. So when the body overheats, judgment does become impaired. Lost hikers routinely fail to ration their water, leading to severe confusion, fainting, and heat exhaustion within hours. This is why a lot of trails are closed at 11 a.m. if the temperature is to hit 36 degrees or higher, forecast temperature. Modern rescue protocols. If a tourist goes missing, local police, park rangers, and Indigenous trackers employ immediate search operations using thermal drones, four-wheel drive, and other stuff. Obviously, wildlife hazards and attacks do occur. It is venomous snakes. The red center is a prime habitat for the king brown, mulgacate, and the western brown snake. Both present highly neurotoxic and hemotoxic venom. Bites are rare and usually only happen if a tourist steps off the path into a spinifex grass or tries to handle a snake, and don't do that. Arachnids and centipedes. The desert houses venomous scorpions and large centipedes. Their stings cause immense, intense burning pain and swelling, but are rare. It's life-threatening to healthy adults. Unlike Fraser Island, the dingoes at Uluru do generally avoid humans. However, they are wild apex predators. Tourists are strictly prohibited from feeding or approaching them, as habituated dingoes can become aggressive, especially around campsites looking for food. Camels and horses. Thousands of feral dingoes, camels, and horses wander the wider desert. They do not usually attack hikers. They can present massive hazards to drivers on the Lassiter Highway, frequently wandering onto the road at night and causing catastrophic car crashes. Kangaroos, and please just stay the hell away from them. Yes, they look cute and gorgeous, but they are known to kick the ever-loving stuffing out of someone, and because they get back on their tail and use their massive back legs with very sharp claws, often to get right in and gut people. People have been severely injured or killed, and I mean, while they're usually not all that aggressive, if they feel threatened or you're threatening the joeys, the babies, I might not take too well. Don't feed them, and they will just go wherever, because they are, they also can cause car crashes and lots of stuff like that. So just remember that, don't go up to any of the animals. Don't wander off any path. Be careful where you put your feet. Be careful what you sit on. Don't know how else to say it. I mean, Australia is not a safe place. A lot of our wildlife here is incredibly dangerous. So the water intake, you must carry and drink at least 1 litre of water for every hour you walk. So clothing, a broad brimmed hat, loose fitting long sleeves, and high traction hiking boots are mandatory. Emergency satellite phones are physically stationed at regular intervals along the base walk and cater due to trail for immediate medical dispatch. Stay on the track. While walking off the marked trails is illegal, it damages sacred ground and exposes you to hidden snake burrows, amongst many other problems. So look, this is about Uluru, and look, it is a lovely place to see, but it's hot, so just be prepared. Take sunscreen, wear UV protective clothing, take a lot of water. Don't go on any of the strenuous walks if you're in any way unhealthy. Don't subject young children to them. I don't think that's a good idea. Be respectful of the cultural traditions of the people who live there. I mean, that's fairly basic, just use some common sense. If you're going to drive, make sure your car can travel long distances, and just be aware that stops between any petrol stations or whatever can be a fair distance. And there's not a lot of, we're still trying to get electric vehicle charging points. There isn't a lot out there. Cars overheating is a big issue. So having a lot of water, having a satellite phone on you, so that if your car breaks down, do not, wander off looking for help unless you can see a phone very close by, because the heat and the isolation and the animals will probably kill you. People get lost and die all the time, unfortunately, because they seem to think that, oh, my car's overheating now, not working, I'll just go wandering off. Don't do that, it's not good. So tell someone where you're going, what route you're taking, where you're looking at stopping. Plan this out. Lots and lots and lots of water. I would have backup petrol or some fuel jerry cans in your vehicle. Have a really well stocked medical first aid kit. Have food, make sure, if you've got children, they are drinking, look out for confusion. Don't drive at night there. There's no lighting in the highways at night there. There's just nothing. You will run into something. So I wouldn't drive at night. It's just not a good idea. Even during the day, like dawn and dusk are usually the worst time, but like at night is seriously bad too. During the day, just be careful, make sure there can be a very long distance between petrol stops. Make sure you've got plenty of, don't be drinking a lot of alcohol, because it dehydrates you like nothing else, and you can't drink and drive in Australia. So don't be doing that. It's a bad idea, and you certainly can't take alcohol into Aboriginal lands. So I mean, you're better off without it anyway, so don't be doing it. Just use some common sense. As I said, plenty of sunscreen, a good UV clothing, wide brim hat, like maybe with the little cork things, to help get rid of the flies. The flies around a lot of these areas are just overwhelming, I can tell you. There's more flies than you can poke a stick at. I mean, quite honestly, so you might want to invest in Airguard and stuff like that, or anything else like that. Sunscreen, lots, and if you're going to hike, take lots of water, and being reasonably good health-wise. I mean, otherwise you're just asking for trouble. And look, if it's a stinking hot day, I wouldn't be walking. It doesn't make any sense. Like if the temperature's 35 degrees plus, or even 30 plus, but 35 degrees Celsius plus, I mean, you really should be in the shade drinking water or something like that. You shouldn't be going out walking, because that's quite honestly dangerous, and you're putting yourself and others at risk, because they'll have to come and find your ass. And the consequences are quite severe. I mean, like Rural Flying Doctor Service and other medical services do operate, but whether they find you in time is a whole other question. I mean, Australia is really, really big, and there's only about 26 million people living here. Most of it's very arid or semi-arid. It's in the centre of Australia. Temperature extremes can be massive. The top, northern parts of Australia get a lot of cyclones. So, like including Alice Springs and whatever. And so, look, just have a bit of common sense. And look, it is a beautiful place to see. I would definitely encourage you to look into it if you want to go, but just be respectful and use your head. I mean, and please, if you've got children, especially younger children or even old kids, because, we all know kids and they're not always the most responsible, and you need to make sure they are drinking water, not soft drink. I mean, water, because water's what they need. can give them an occasional soft drink, but water, 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 because otherwise they dehydrate. They're going to get very sick. And so, look, that's just, it is a beautiful place to see. It's really, to hear the cultural stories, the dreaming that they'll tell you, that's not restricted. It's fascinating. I mean, it's a good place to see. And, like, the money that they get, that's 100% used to help the Aboriginals in the area. They help it to develop different things for the Aboriginals in the area. So it's a good place to see. I've been there quite a few times. It's absolutely, I loved it. I can't go now. My health wouldn't withstand it at all. Um, you know, but if it's something you can do, then I encourage you to do it. Thanks.